Good evening, everybody. We have a swearing in tonight of Berkeley Penner for the city clerk and treasurer. Just repeat after me, if you will.
Okay.
I, Berkeley Penner,
I, Berkeley Penner,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and obey
that I will support and obey,
and defend the Constitution of the United States
defend the Constitution of the United
and the
States,
Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and that I will not knowingly receive directly or indirectly
receive directly or indirectly
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office,
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
my duties as city clerk and treasurer
my duties as city clerk and treasurer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you. I call to order the Bethany City Council meeting for Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018. Would you please rise for the flag salute and the prayer? Curtis, will you lead us in the flag salute?
Yes. Attention, salute, flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening and ask that you would guide us, that you give us wisdom and insight and courage. And I thank you, Father God, for the freedom of living in this country and for the celebration that all of us will join in tomorrow. We thank you for the veterans and those who have sacrificed and those that continue to do so for our freedom. We just ask that you would help us to lead the city of Bethany to the best of our abilities. And I pray this in the name that is above all other names, the name of Jesus. Amen. Item 1 is a consent docket A through D. Do I have any questions or discussion or motion?
I just want to make one comment,
Okay.
just on some verbiage, and I'm fine with it, but just want to, on the city manager contract agreement, on the narrative, to my understanding, it does say there will be no cost increase to the city, but my understanding, there will be an increase from 10% to 15.66. And I'm fine with this, but I did want to point that out.
In the narrative.
Yeah. The narrative is that we didn't give an extra cost, but the original was 10. This is just going to
And this is just exactly what the employees get, yeah. So that everybody knows, this is just making our city manager equal with receiving what other employees get.
Mr. Mayor, I approve, I make a motion to approve the consent docket.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 2 is a public hearing item. Consideration, possible approval of ordinance number 1958 to rezone the property located at 7110 Northwest 42nd Street from R2 to family residential to CG commercial general. Item A is a reading by title only. Yes, would you please?
This is an application for a rezone at 71 Northwest 42nd Street Okay, is that better?
Okay.
Is that better?
That is better.
All right, we're going to get there tonight. Okay, the current zoning is R2. The zoning requested is CG. The surrounding zoning around it currently is both CG and R2, so it has both zonings in the property surrounding this property currently. These get paid forever. So the application and the lot meets or exceeds the lot design standards for CG zoning. There's currently an existing water line along the front of the property. The sanitary sewer overlay map does not show a sewer near the property. It is believed that there's probably a sewer there, but it does not show on the overlay map, so we cannot determine if there is or not. The paving there where the property is 2-lane residential there on Northwest 42nd Street. And just to, as we're talking about the water and the sewer, it has been brought to my attention, there were some questions about if the property did have to have water or sewer in order for us to rezone. And the answer to that is no. There's nothing in the ordinance that states for us to do a rezone of a property, it has to have water or sewer. Now, if right now it's an empty lot, if anyone ever decided to put a structure there in the future, the water and the sewer would come in as part of the site plan and it would be addressed at that point. But for what we're doing here today and for rezoning, it does not require water or sewer at the location. And I know that was a question and a concern of some of you on council. If you can see right there, that little yellow square shows the property in regards to the properties around it. So it does have CG around it, CH around it, as well as residential. As far as our comprehensive plan, this actually is part of the area where we talked about expanding the central business district. This falls into the area where we looked and saw that there was an opportunity to expand our CBD district and make it more commercial and residential mixed. And this area does fall within that vision of the Comprehensive Plan 2030. This is an aerial view. And we just always put this in here to remind us of what the comprehensive plan said. Once again, this falls into what we're wanting to do as we expand that downtown central business district, which includes residential and commercial. If you have not seen the property, driven by and looked at it yourself, it is a empty lot currently. Right across the street is the transportation bus barn for one of the school districts. So that road there is already getting some wear and tear and some use by the buses and other pieces of, I'm not going to say equipment, but by other vehicles are already using 42nd Street there with the bus barn being in that area. I put in front of you the application that will have to be filled out and turned in to the building inspectors in order to do a driveway, which is what the applicant is wanting to do on that property. He is wanting to keep it empty and put a driveway in to use with his commercial business. So the way that the standards are now, the right-of-way would have to be concrete because it would be a public improvement, but anything on the other side of that, on the private property, we don't have any ordinances in place that state it would have to be asphalt or concrete or gravel. The way that it stands right now, on his side of the right-of-way, he would be open to putting in what he wanted to put in. Once again, there is a water line there. A sewer line does not show there. So those might be issues if someone decided to buy that property and build in the future. But my understanding is, and the applicant is here this evening, he has no plans of building anything at this time. He just wants to use it as a driveway to get access to his business that he currently has there in front of that property. The Planning Commission recommended to approve the rezoning from residential to commercial general. They also made a recommendation for the City Council to look into rezoning the IR portion of this property to CG. This is a dual-zoned property. My understanding is when the applicant bought the property, it was dual-zoned at that time because they were manufacturing and making things on that property. The IR is an industrial zoning. He is not making any thing on that property now or manufacturing or building. So the CG would probably work for him. It's just commercial general. That was just a recommendation from the P&Z to you, but you can obviously discuss that and decide what you might want to do. I think I've hit on everybody's questions that came to me prior to City Council, but if I haven't, I'm more than happy to answer them, and we have the applicant here as well.
I have a question, if I may. The IR portion, did anyone look into that to see whether it can be a part of what we're talking about tonight, or does it have to be a totally different issue?
Legally, I'm not sure.
I think that's one of those old zonings that no longer exist, is my understanding. Like residential, commercial, and things like that that are no longer around.
But as far as can you make the change tonight, I'm not entirely sure.
Could we ask the applicant if you're interested in having it changed from an IR to a CG?
I don't care.
Okay.
It was just like that when I bought it. I understand that years ago there was some type of manufacturing firm in that warehouse back there. I can tell by the wiring and all that didn't exist. No, I don't intend to do that. I don't care.
Mr. Caton might even be able to clear some of that up for us if he'd like to explain it.
No, you're fine.
Unfortunately, this is a public hearing, and your notification only involved 300-foot radius of the property and under concern. So I don't think you could legally take up rezoning the rest of it without the proper notification.
I don't really care if it stays the same. It doesn't matter.
Is there a benefit? I mean, Gilbert, you're on the P&Z of changing it from IR to CG.
The only benefit would be typically in planning, we do not tolerate or encourage dual zoning on a piece of property, so it'd be a housekeeping matter only.
One thing though, if that area is slated to go commercial, it would be another move towards moving that commercial.
Yeah, that would be as part of the comprehensive plan, yes.
So we could vote to change both of those, R2 to CG and IR to CG tonight, but it wouldn't take, I mean, do you have to?
I don't think Mr. Caton said.
Right, we'd have to.
Not tonight.
Because not enough notice was given.
Okay.
We'd probably have to take that back through, Mr. Caden, if I'm correct, at the planning and zoning, we'd have to do what we normally do, newspaper, and then everybody within 300 feet to give them a chance, and we'd probably do the P&Z hearing, and then bring it to you at council like we normally do and go through the entire process.
But there were no protests, phone calls, letters?
No, so on this one, our office received no phone calls, no protests, no letters.
Is this an additional expense to the owner if we went with changing the IR to a CG?
They would have to go through the process of filing another rezone application and paying the fee, unless there was a,
Would do.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So it's to the city's benefit and not to yours.
Can I ask, so are you wanting to build a access road?
Access driveway.
Could that have the stipulation of being asphalt rather than gravel, so that it's cleaner, nicer, looks better?
Be behind the fence. See, I've got access to Davis as well. I've got that alleyway, what looks like an alleyway that connects my property over to Davis. But I can't use that as a driveway because it falls off so sharp with the rental houses. And I would try to change the flow and all that, and it wouldn't work. I bought that house and knocked it down. It's an old, elongated house. wasn't worth saving, honestly. Because it gave me access to 42nd. I don't even intend to use it all the time, but if I ever have like a semi-truck in delivering, and I need to get my trailers out, it just will make it easy for me to have another way to get out the street.
Right.
And I plan on putting a operated fence where if you pull up to it, it opens, just to get out.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I've got a question about that. You don't have any intention of using this egress or ingress from this street or this driveway that you're going to put in for other than the movement of material from a large semi-trailer truck?
I don't even need it for that. I just need in and out. It really truly is only gonna be a driveway. Because I need the trucks up next to my shop that unload the forklift anyway. So I get that done now. It will just make it easier for me to, I've got a lot of activity going on in there. I may be trying to get 3 trailers out the door in the morning, and when I've got a semi there to be unloaded, sometimes I just need another way out.
Okay, so possibly some of your work vehicle that you do work in the city and local area.
Yes, sir.
Would use that as an egress and ingress.
Exactly.
And also, I looked at it, and it's probably difficult to turn a semi-trailer truck around into it.
I get them turned around in there, but they don't like it.
That's what I
But I only take about, sometimes a truck a month, occasionally 2 semis a month.
So it's not a huge amount of activity, but it just, sometimes I just get a little jammed up in there and
You're limited on space if you have any vehicles inside it.
yes, sir. Right.
My only other reservation would be that 42nd Street needs to be turned into commercial use.
Yeah,
And we need it. We definitely have a lot of commercial business going up and down the street.
there is.
When it comes to the bus barn, moving in and out of it.
Well, now you've got the ambulances coming and going up through there. You've got an occasional semi-truck going to those commercial buildings down in the corner. So you've got a lot of activity there anyway. You do. And then I don't really want to cause a problem here, but you've got that little electrician right there that's next door to my empty lot that's, there's some activity there as
I know
well.
about that in R1 zoning.
Well, I'm not trying to go there for any reason other than saying there's some activity.
Yeah, there's activity there. I understand that.
What kind of, is the fence already up? Are you putting up a fence, and what kind of fence?
No, I've waited because I want to put in an electronic gate, and I didn't want to spend that kind of money if this wasn't going to happen.
Is it like a chain link or a wooden fence, or?
The gate portion will have to be chain link
Mhm.
just for weight wise. The other, probably 2/3 of the way across there, I want to put a solid fence. And I know there's some stipulations as to what that fence has to be and all, and we'll certainly
Community
meet
Development
that.
Director, does that fence have to be site-proof?
No, not to my knowledge. It does not have to be site-proof. Not for what he's wanting to do, no.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question about the fence.
Okay.
Is that going to be in compliance with the setbacks so that it's not going to be like all the way to the road? It'll be.
He'll have to go through the building inspectors and get a permit for a fence, and he'll have to comply with where it needs to be, and it can't be in the right-of-way and all of that. Yes, sir. And our building inspectors will make sure that all of that is in compliance and taken care of before they sign off on it.
And there's actually a 25-foot setback right there.
Right.
So from that lot all the way down to the east end of the block.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I guess my question is, I understand the recommendation of the PNC, but if the owner isn't interested in rezoning to IR, and I just think maybe that's something we need not do tonight,
I don't think we can tonight.
or even
Yeah.
to make it a part of our recommendation.
Yeah, I think
I
that
mean,
has
I
to be
guess it
another.
wouldn't hurt to look into it, but I don't
It's
see
just
the
R2
point.
to CG tonight.
Right.
Yeah. Do I have a motion for item A, approval on reading by title only?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Do I have a motion for item B, approval of sections 1 of ordinance number 1958?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Are you including the
Please
IR?
cast your votes. Do I have a motion for item C, the emergency section?
What's that?
Do you need to do it in 30 days?
I'll make a motion to approve subsection C of item 2 on the agenda.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
Thank you.
Is the IR included in this motion or not?
No.
Following up on it?
No.
Okay.
There is no IR anymore. We did away with that, so it's just, okay.
Item 3 is a public hearing item, consideration and possible adoption of resolution number 1508, acknowledging intent to participate in the Small Cities Set Aside Program in the State Community Development Block Grant Program. Can you explain, or Danielle, somebody
Danielle.
explain this?
This is a really good thing for us, and Danielle's going to explain it.
Yes, it is. Good evening. This is for the CDBG Small Cities Grant. Essentially what this is for a small cities set-aside program. Each city in the metro gets a certain amount of money each year. This year, I believe we're about a little over $80,000, about $88,000. And so we have to have a public hearing item, and then we also have to have a citizen participation plan, as well as a resolution asking for assistance from the Department of Commerce. So that's what you have before you this evening. And then we'll finish up the application, which is due by July 18th. The project we're going to be doing is for ADA compliance within City Hall. So a lot of the projects that's going to be focused for this particular grant.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why we met with the architectural firm a couple of weeks ago and got them started on, our ideas for access from outside and the doors and other things. So hopefully we'll be able to meet this deadline, because getting almost $90,000 will go a long way for, the doorknobs that we have to get and other aspects of it that can go with the money that we already have set aside. Typically, is it matching, or is this just grants?
Yes, it is.
It
It's
is
one-on-one
matching.
matching, yes.
Okay, so, but we need your approval.
Yes,
Is this a yearly grant, like we could do this next year?
yes, it is.
And are the projects limited, or what's the parameter?
They are somewhat limited, but there is a wide range that we get to choose from. So each year, it can be anywhere from, it's mainly to serve low to moderate income people. So for this one, because it's a city hall project, because it's a public building, there's certain things that we don't have to do, whereas other projects we would. So it just depends on the project, but they can be used for a lot of different things. That we've done one before, the water and sewer lines, in previous years. So that's another option, stormwater type stuff, and it's a large gamut that you can choose from.
What did we do last year?
We did not apply for it last year.
Did you state the matching ratio?
It's 1-to-1.
1-to-1.
Aren't we also considering applying for a CDBG for a splash pad?
Yes, that is for the healthy communities.
The healthy
grant. That's
communities,
correct.
yes. Yeah, and that will be something else that, thank goodness Danielle knows how to do grant writing, so we have a good probability of acquiring that grant funding as well.
Thank you, staff, for working on this.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve item 3 on the agenda tonight.
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 4 is consideration of possible approval of managed IT agreement with ImageNet Consulting LLC beginning July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2019.
This is our annual agreement with ImageNet, and it is for a total cost for the managed IT of $36,000. And this is what we need to do for, it's $3,000 a month, and it provides our 24-hour help desk and other aspects like that, our antivirus, our software updates and things like that. It allows us, by having this agreement, we don't pay for them to come out and actually do things, that are considered part of this agreement. So I'm asking council to approve this with ImageNet.
Would you explain, Center once?
You need to recognize the mayor and then make a comment.
Is it okay if I say, Mr. Mayor, I have a question of the city manager?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is your mic on, Arlita?
Is your mic on?
What?
We're giving you a hard time tonight, Marlene.
Turn your
It's
mic
right
on.
there. Her mic is
I
on.
know, it's on. Okay, the question is, what is the relationship of ImageNet to Laserfish, and is there one?
Yes, there is a relationship between ImageNet and Laserfish. ImageNet is the IT company, and Laserfish is the application that we use to scan in our documents. And this is the same one that we talk about most every council meeting. But just, to summarize, Laserfish is very important to our organization, to moving us ahead, to keeping us up with. It's not so much, we do use it for bills and invoices, but we also use it a lot in planning and zoning. And, whenever we have companies that would call and ask us what our zoning is, we're able to send them those documents because they're already there. So it really does help us promote even economic development by having the ability to have our documents in a form that we can send electronically. And in one of our items that I did ask the council to approve this evening, it was for an additional 16 terabytes of memory. I'm sorry, I mistakenly put gigabytes, but it's terabytes. And it was a $7,000. Really, we needed it for our system. And I did send out an email to our council on Friday explaining that after spending almost an hour on the phone with our ImageNet rep, I was made aware that one of the reasons that our memory is so low in the entire organization is that our encode system, which is all of our financials, and our Laserfish are both sharing the same memory. And so we were dangerously low to crashing. And I was very, very concerned because we had less than 10% ability to keep things running if something happened. And so I did ask for more memory, and we did get that in today. So we're past the crisis, thankfully. And, now we can assess more things, moving ahead. But we also are working on connecting our two buildings together, which will give us the ability, what I found out in my conversation with ImageNet is that our court system have been using Wi-Fi to connect with our server here and to our memory. And it was very slow and inefficient and could have been at risk at any time. And so connecting these buildings together now, it's like we're all one. And so we'll have access to the accounting there, and it will be much easier for our auditors. Crawford and Associates came in to do an audit of our court system and found it difficult to believe that they were not actually connected in with our municipal government buildings. So our auditors will be much happier now too.
Did we find out, I'd asked last council meeting, why the two buildings were not connected, excuse me, when over a year ago they actually bore the whatever to connect with the fiber optics, and once they got it there, they just stopped when it was far below the city manager's spending limit to connect them. And so I'm just curious if we've figured out why they weren't ever connected, and this whole time they've been somewhat susceptible to hacking or whatever if they're having to connect via Wi-Fi.
Well, it's harder, when our financials are not connected because they literally have to physically bring over deposits, to our facility here, and then, they're taken from here to the bank, so it was very unsafe anyway. It'd be better if there was just an electronic transference and then somebody went straight to the bank. But I really don't have an answer that I think would satisfy council on why the connection was not made.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Okay.
On the contract moving forward, you will be the contact person, is that correct?
Yes, yes. I am going through, and part of what I'm doing right now is going through the vendor list, the bank lists, making sure that I am the contact for it. We've had quite a few transitions, probably 4 or 5 in the last year or so, and so there is some confusion with the institutions that we do business with on who the contact should be. So I am systematically going through those and making sure that I am the contact.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
I notice in here that there is a provision that says training services of any kind will not be provided. Is there somebody on the city side that can help us? I need training. I would like to be able to get into Laserfish and all that kind of stuff. Is there somebody here that can help us do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do have staff.
And my second concern is, I think major institutions have their own IT person on staff because that's more immediate and they're available, and I think the quality of the work that you receive is much higher. And I would like to see if the city manager would go through the process of maybe hiring somebody who could, and this would be pending approval by the council, but I think it would be a good idea to have someone maybe mirror ImageNet so that they're aware of everything that's going on, they get up to speed, and then maybe this time next year, they can take on the responsibility of having that done. I know SNU does that. I know there are other institutions in the area that do that, and it's feasible. And I would really like to have our own person as opposed to a contractor who, we don't know who it is when we pick up the phone, and we could rely on a new person. So those are my 2 comments, Mr. Mayor.
If I might make a suggestion on this, an IT to work here and do what we probably need done is probably going to cost us more than $30,000. And we've got to train them, so we got to add another $30,000 to it. And sometimes when you go out to a vendor, we get a quicker, better service, and they know what they're doing. And I think it would be much better to try to work this out over a several year period that we could do the same thing that they do with a little less money.
I know this contract is $36,000 annually. That is a lot less than we would pay an IT person on staff. They would typically be $90,000 to $100,000 for the experience that we would need. I do plan to have a comprehensive overview of all of our costs that we have for this, and this will be a budget item that I do present to the council within the next couple of months. So it should give you a better picture, of what our expenditures are now and perhaps what we want to look at in the future.
Mr. Mayor, if I may respond to that?
Yes.
I understand that. Maybe we can have an independent contractor, maybe we can have somebody from SNU. I'd just like to have somebody on staff that we can rely on. I don't like the idea of being kind of hijacked by this company related to our IT. I think we can do better on our side if we can do it in-house in some capacity. So if that's something that the city manager can look into, if it's not feasible, let's just discuss it and get to that point. That's where I'm going, Mr. Shirey.
Well, the feasibility of it is, number one, we're looking at $30,000 or $36,000 to get this up and running. You go hire an IT, you're looking at, you may be a little high, but I know you're not going to get one for less than $80,000. You're talking about a systems manager, not necessarily an IT. And we need a systems manager to really walk in and know exactly, and they have several years of experience because of microfiche. I can't even probably wade my way through that pool, and it's difficult. And he would be able to do a lot of training with people that work with the city. So I mean, there's a lot of things both directions.
Arlita?
Thank you. I worked at SNU. They had an amazing IT department, and we still had contracts for software. So it does still happen. I was in Laserfish today. I like Laserfish a lot. I use it, but the current invoices are not in there.
Right.
And you're probably aware of that. So, yeah, everybody's nodding their head. So whatever they need to do to bring it up to date also needs to happen under this contract. So,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry.
Robert, did you have something you wanted to say?
I do. Do we have a safeguard now in place to, before we get low on memory or whatever it's called?
I think we'll be okay. We bought a large enough size storage, and it's literally, you can physically see the boxes, but then the storage, is inside of that. But we bought in anticipation that since we had used so much of the storage within the last year and a half, that, we needed to anticipate that we would be using that much again. And so we'll be able to measure now, really from today. I think it actually started working about 10 or maybe noon today, our extra storage. So we'll be able to measure that really month by month to see how much is being utilized, because we have a lot of our staff who are actually going back into the old documents now that are bringing those things forward. And that's why there was so much use of the memory.
Thank you. Did you have another comment? Or did somebody have a comment down there?
I went over this contract that was presented to us, and one change I might suggest, it had a contact in there of our former city clerk, and we'd want to get that off the contract, I would think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. We were having some technical difficulties, so I apologize.
Did you have a
duly
comment,
noted.
Mr. Palmer?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
second? Please cast your vote. Item 5 is consideration and possible action to approve creating a resolution for policy restricting the use of cell phones or other communication devices by council members during city council meetings. Do I have any questions or comments or a motion?
I mean, we're all 35, 40 years old, but we don't live by the cell phone. And we ought to come up here because we're getting paid good money. And lay your cell phone down and get rid of it. I mean, that's only, I may be a little older than you guys, but I don't have it strapped to my wrist.
I agree, and I think a resolution would help establish some rules so that we had that in place, so that everybody was on the same understanding that this is what's expected. We've been elected, and we're to be the ones setting up here working for this large paycheck that we get to make decisions for the best of our citizens.
I might make a suggestion, you put it up on the board here, like you do at the movies, please turn your cell phones off. Do not disturb us.
I agree. I agree.
Does that require a motion?
Yes, do I have a motion?
What are your
excuse me, Mayor, if I may, I mean, what do you want the outcome of this to be? What do you have proposed for this?
That there's no cell phone or communication devices to be used during council meetings by council members.
So these right here.
As long as you're not getting communication from outside sources, you know, that could be coaching from somebody else that's not on this horseshoe, telling somebody how to vote, what to ask, what to say. That's, we were the ones elected, and we're the ones that need to be sitting here doing that, not somebody out there. And so that's the reason, because we can get stuff on these, we can get them on our cell phones, we can now get them on our watches, if you can afford one of those watches. And I just think we need to make sure that that is not happening, and I think a resolution would be good for us, and it would be good for all council members from years on out.
I think we'll hinder ourselves. We have in the past, you have called and put Mr. Palmer on speakerphone during meetings before, so everybody could be included.
Not during a council meeting, though.
Yeah, during a council meeting.
When did I do that?
I mean, it was in the other room, but it was still a council meeting. That's still a council meeting. So is this specifically to only Tuesday night meetings?
Do what?
Will this be specifically to only Tuesday night meetings?
Council meetings, yeah, I mean, if we're,
I mean, that's a council meeting in there.
well, then we can do it in there too.
Executive sessions, you can't have, communication
wasn't an
devices
executive
of
session.
anything.
Mr.
outside
Mayor,
of the
if I
room.
may, can I have a comment?
Sure.
The point is, it'll be from now on. Whether there was any issue later or in the past, that's kind of done. But from this point on, the way I read it, we can't do that. And we won't do it if it passes. That's the way I see it. So if this is a rule that I think we should implement for all members, and this is what we're going to do from now on, if we approve it. So whatever we did in the past, maybe that did happen or shouldn't not have happened, or whatever the situation was.
No, I mean, I had no problem with it in the past.
Well,
I thought
but-
it was a good way to use technology.
Well, at this point, I think it's advisable and it's a good idea. My point, Mr. Mayor, was from this point on, given this information, this is how we're going to operate. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, if we wanted to access a law or a code or anything else through technology, it could not be done on the horseshoe.
There's plenty of people down here that could help us with that.
So they can do it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Please cast your votes. Item 6, citizens' opportunity to address the council on general topics related to city business or services. And as a reminder, there's no action that may be taken on matters under this item. Is there anyone with us that would like to address the council this evening? Item 7 needs to be scratched from this agenda. Item 8 is the city manager's report.
I'd like to report that in the last couple of weeks, I have worked with auditors, with Crawford and Associates. I've also retained the services of an auditor out of Tulsa who will be coming in to help us with the audits that we're required to have for our financial statements. I'm working with Berkeley now. As we noted before the council began tonight, Berkeley took his oath of office for city clerk treasurer, and I am very happy that he has stepped into that role. And we've got a lot of work to do, but I feel confident that we can get there. Berkeley's leadership has been exemplary. He has worked with the ladies that are in the utility billing and really has built consensus that it's all hands on deck right now. And so I would like to commend him for that. That was very valiant, and I appreciate it very much. We still have quite a way to go to navigate through the course of trying to decipher the way things were and perhaps the way things need to be going forward. I have also made council aware of several personnel changes in the organization, as well as organizational restructuring. And we've had new staff on board, and looking forward to, within the next couple of weeks, having additional staff as well. Also have been part of the union negotiations with the fire department, and we'll have some things coming out about that. But I've managed to keep busy, and so have staff the last few weeks. So we're glad for the break, a little bit of one tomorrow.
Thank you. Item 9 is council members' announcements, comments, and proposals. And tonight, let's start down with Mr. Shirey. Mr. McCutcheon?
Yeah, I just want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July. I'm looking forward to seeing the mayor in his car and throwing that candy. And
I got the candy. I just got to remember to actually take it with me this year.
You do. I'm going to video that. Make sure you have it. Other council that'll be throwing candy as well. And I've got my mother with me to celebrate the 4th this year, so I'm excited about that. And happy 4th to the rest of y'all.
Mr. Herron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing.
Mr. Moore?
Thank you. I just want to wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July. And I've had some citizens questions from the citizens regarding, we've got several investigations going on, but I just want to assure them nothing will be swept under the rug as far as ongoing investigations. I checked with the city manager on some of the facts. The investigations into the wrongful disposal of city property, the trees we're talking about, the OSBI did their investigation. They found the allegations happened but decided not to prosecute. Now the city investigation has a different standard altogether. The city investigation will investigate allegations of possible illegal acts by a city council member, and will investigate the possible breaking of their oath also. So nothing's going to be swept under the rug. That's all I got.
Mr. Todd?
Yes, I'd like to know if where we are in the search for our city attorney. I haven't had any reports on that, so we got these resumes, but do we have any comment on that yet?
I don't know about the resumes, but I know that I spoke on the phone with Leslie Batchelor, and there's interest there in a meeting to be set up with her, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name, because that would be hiring the Batchelor firm, essentially, because you wouldn't necessarily get the same attorney, but they represent the village and others, so they could be acting city attorneys. So that's what but as far as applications, I don't know.
And David Davis is still very involved, so it really feels like he's never left, except he's not sitting here. So we rely on him a lot.
And as far as item number 5, I spoke with and got advice from David Davis and Leslie Batchelor about this very rule, and they agreed that this needed to happen and be in place. And she did that pro bono, by the way, the advice. So, Arlita?
I just want to tell everyone that the parade is going to be tomorrow, and it does leave at 10 o'clock in the morning from SNU, follows down Route 66 to Rockwell, turns south, goes to 36th, and then to Eldon Lyon Park. And I have heard people say there's no parade this year, there's no 4th of July. There is. Bethany is celebrating the Freedom Festival this year. And so we will have a parade, come on out to it. And then I believe the evening festivities, the park actually opens at 4 o'clock. There are concerts, the fireworks start at 9:55 and probably will last about 20 minutes if it's normal fireworks. And we just encourage you to all be safe and keep your children from underneath their vehicles as the other council members are throwing candy. I will be watching the parade as I do every year. Thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As an Army brat and the son of a 30-year veteran, I would like to wish everybody happy 4th of July. It's a high price that people have paid for our freedom. This is one of my favorite times in Bethany. We have the parade, and my daughter will be in a car throwing candy gently to everybody in the parade. She's looked forward to this the whole year, and I'm happy that she can do that with her friend. So if you see him, make sure you wave and say hello, because she will love every minute of it. I also want to encourage and help the staff know that we are here for them, and we're here for Janet, and this is a time that we need to work together as a team to move forward, and I want to encourage you to keep doing the job and really finish strong and begin the process. And I've also been told about semi-automated trash pickup. The city manager told me that that more than likely will be in the fall, so we're in the process of purchasing the trucks and the poly carts, so if there's any doubt in your mind, that will come in the fall. We don't have a specific timeline at this point, according to the city manager, but we're going to try to get that thing taken care of. So hopefully that's helpful for the residents in Ward 2 and throughout the city of Bethany. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I also would like to wish everybody a happy 4th, and I would also like to say that we had our summer cinema on the lawn of the hospital a week or so ago, and I'd like to thank everybody that was involved in making that happen, the community development team and the leadership team, and specifically Bill and Jessica Aycock and Jason Sargent that really went above and beyond and helped pull that thing together. It was a lot of fun. I think it seemed to me, I don't know, you kind of did a head count, that there was a couple hundred people that were there throughout the evening, and probably about 100 that were sitting there watching the movie when the movie started. And it was a lot of fun watching the kids dance around and run around and sing and stuff like that, so that was cool.
If I could, Mr. Carlson told me he stayed and there was almost no trash left to pick up.
That's right. That is really cool. So thanks to everybody that made that happen. I have ideas for more movies on the lawn and park, which is really stressing out the community development at this point in time. But we are going to make this happen because we have a vision, and it's going to happen to bring the community together. And yes, the parade does go at 10, and the and the entertainment. I heard the entertainment with concerts and music and stuff starts about 6, but I guess the park's kind of. And are there food trucks as well that are going to be out there possibly? And then the fireworks will happen. I know there's a lot of people saying we've canceled the 4th. No, it's actually a very long process to remove the 4th from between July 3rd and the 5th. The government doesn't like that, and so we have not done that. But we are having the celebration. We have a committee that shortly after because I know there's a lot of complaining out there, a lot of people pointing their finger at saying the city is no longer doing the Freedom Festival, how dare they, and that kind of stuff. People just need to realize that, we have to make tough decisions based on what we think's best for the city, and watching the city staff and the man hours that we have to pay for, the citizens pay for, all these hours that go into preparing for a one-day event. Though it is a great event and we all love it, there has been times it's rained and it didn't happen, and so it seems like a waste. And from what I'm told from Linda Warner, that I'm not sure that we've ever broken even on the event. It always costs money, but there's a lot of time that goes into it, and so we made a decision last year to try to form a committee that would take over the daytime portion in Eldon Lyon, the Freedom Festival Park. We are still doing the parade, and the police and public works show up and block off the streets, and that's great. We still do the fireworks, like Arlita said, and from what I understand, I think you'd mentioned it last year, that's about $1,000 a minute that everybody watches explode in the sky. So that's not a cheap deal. So we've committed to that, and we're going to continue to do that. And I know that Justin Peck had stepped forward shortly after the festival last year, or the 4th last year, and said he was willing to take it on. And though there was a lot of people complaining, there was no one willing to step up and join this committee. And that's kind of frustrating. And yet he talked Randy Lunstra into joining him, a former council member. And I don't know when that happened, 4 or 5 months ago maybe. And they've been working and trying to get things put together, and they've got together what they've got together. And I really believe that if they can get more help and volunteers starting on the 5th of July, that they can make this thing great, and it can be great for everybody. And so I would just ask people to get involved. There is not a carnival. I don't understand why there's not a carnival. I will tell you that on the 5th of July last year, I got an email from a mom on behalf of her, I believe it was like a 10-year-old daughter, that was very upset about the live animal prizes at the carnival, and I promised that we would make sure that the carnival did not do that again. And so I don't know if the carnival didn't show up because they only had live animals or somebody just didn't schedule them. I'm not sure. But either way, there's not a carnival this year. Hopefully next year they'll get that in place. And the car show, I'm not sure why that's happened, but I have already heard that there will be a car show next year. So I'm excited about that. So please get involved, and let's make the festival greater than it's ever been. And everybody will take pride in it because you will have involvement in it. So I really appreciate that. With that rant, I bring up item 10, new business. Does anybody have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until July 17th, 2018. I call to order the Bethany Public Works Authority. Item 1, A and B is the consent docket. Do I have a motion or discussion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 2, consideration and possible approval to award bid to water treatment plant Quick Lime to Mississippi Lime Company. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 3, we're adjourned until July 17th, 2018. I call to order the Bethany Hospital Trust. Item 1, A and B is consent docket. Do I have a motion?
So
Motion to
moved.
approve.
Do I have a second? Second. Please cast your votes. With that, we are adjourned until July 17th, 2018. I call to order the Bethany Development Authority. Item 1, consent docket A and B. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Please cast your votes. And with that, we adjourn until 2017, 2018. Thank you very much and good night.